The following episode will contain spoilers. You have been warned.
You're listening to Cinema IRL, the podcast that throws you into the movie and asks the question, what would you do? If you want to know what Amber and Scott would do if faced with their marriage getting blown up on their wedding day, then check out today's robust episode, The Drama. And now, Cinema IRL.
I wish I could switch places for just one day.
What would you do?
Put yourself in my shoes.
How do we handle this?
What would you do?
Put yourself in my position.
What would you do?
Now it's your turn.
Watching your marriage fall apart at your wedding, that's kind of a bad beat.
It is. This movie, I feel like, was made for what we do here and talking about what we do here and talking about what would you do. I also feel like this episode could go 2 hours, and that's why I'm telling you up front, we are not having a 2-hour episode. And I feel like this is so in line with what would you do that I almost feel like we should end the show after this episode. Like, just end it, retire it, because I don't think anything fits the premise of what we do here any better than this film called The Drama.
That is actually very interesting, because I was trying to figure out if there was enough material.
Oh, that's interesting. So it could either be 2 hours or actually could be 2 minutes.
It's definitely not going to be 2 minutes. I mean, I thought that through like the first half. We got to the second half and I realized, okay, yeah, there's definitely plenty of things to discuss.
Alrighty, folks. Well, welcome to Cinema IRL. Our film for this episode is The Drama. And
which funny enough, was a dark comedy.
It was. And this film, I did not watch a trailer for. I knew nothing about. It's just that every time we go to our movie theater, there is a huge display for this film at a wall that you have to directly walk towards. And we have seen it for several weeks. And I thought, well, sure, Robert Pattinson and Zendaya, sure, we'll see that. But I did not see the trailer. So I did not know the premise of this. And I don't know how much they have divulged in that trailer.
So I did see a trailer.
Okay, so
or
did
at
you
least
know?
A snippet of it. Probably not the whole thing, because you know me, I'm not paying attention before the movie starts. But there was a scene where they were talking like at the, I can't remember what it was now, but they were like talking at their kitchen table. Mm-hmm. It was like maybe 2/3 of the way through the movie. I can't remember it.
Okay. So did you know the main premise of this film then?
Hell no, I did not.
Okay.
I literally knew nothing.
I would hope that the trailers didn't divulge this, because it was just out of the blue for me, and I would have been really upset had I known it. So that said, folks, there is a warning at the beginning of our episodes because we don't want to spoil things for you. So
You have a crusade on this.
I do, because if you knew where this was going, I feel like it would land differently. And I didn't know where it was going, so I was like, oh, is that what this film is going to be about? So in a nutshell, what this film is about is a couple that's been together for 2 years. They seem to be madly in love and ready to tie the knot. And they are having their friends, their couple friends, as they are testing food and wine for their wedding reception. And their friend, Rachel, brings up a conversation she's had with her husband, Mike, and about...
I almost opened the show with that question, but I can tell you the next thing I would have said would have been, nope, never mind. Yeah, I have thoughts.
So
This is obviously a huge what would you do?
yeah, as the catalyst for the whole rest of the film is how this little very candid conversation goes, because Mike shares a story of how he used a girlfriend as a shield against a crazy dog attack, and Rachel uses a story of how she blocked some young boy in a closet in an RV in the middle of the woods and went off and left him, and fortunately he didn't die. They did find him, but that's still kind of messed up in a very, very big way. But yeah, those are tame until we get to Emma, who is played by Zendaya plays.
Was it my? I know. What's the? What's the guy's name?
Charlie and Emma are our main couple,
I'm
and
so bad
Mike
at
and
this.
Rachel are our couple friends.
I mean, Charlie's thing was like, I bullied a kid.
Yeah, and
really
he kind of
bad.
brushed it off, and he somehow got off the hook from any sort of level of detail.
Yeah, I feel like he was just making something up.
Yeah. Maybe. If he wasn't, then that's ironic that it kind of maybe plays into...
He did not seem like the type of person who was going to bully, even as a child.
I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of people today were probably did things as kids that we might be surprised of. So we get to Emma, and she shares what the worst thing that she did is, and it's that she prepared to go to school and...
Shoot him up.
Yeah, she was planning a school mass shooting.
And I think, was it Susie was going to get it first? Or Sarah? Or
Yeah. And she was 15 years old, and she had the gun, and she did, like, the manifesto video, and she practiced, and she even lost her hearing as she was holding a gun too close to her ear. So to this day, she cannot hear in her right ear. And apparently there was another mass shooting that day, and she didn't do her mass shooting. And in the crusade against the shooting attack, it's pulled into this anti-gun sentiment that arises out of that other shooting and gets involved with that and backburners her own school shooting.
I just want to note that over the course of this movie, there were 2 instances where somebody said they would call the police.
I did notice that, yeah.
And
I don't know what you do about... Because she was 30 at this point, so I don't know...
yeah, and this was when she was 15.
Yeah.
And she didn't even do anything illegal when she was 15. Like, there's nothing to arrest.
Yeah, that was kind of silly.
I mean, maybe psychiatric evaluation, for sure.
And
but
that's
as far
not
as,
something the cops are going to get involved in.
Yeah, like, even then, it's not... You can't arrest somebody because they're thinking about it.
Yeah, and she did take the gun to school, but again, this is 15 years ago
How
when
did
she
you
was
get
a teenager.
rifle to school? Like, if it's a handgun, I get it. How do you get a rifle?
I don't know. Maybe you carry a guitar case or
Yeah, I was wondering, like, did she play the guitar and just leave the guitar at home one day?
something like that. So, our first, what would you do?
Also, a rifle's a terrible thing if you're going to shoot up a bunch.
Oh, I guess. I mean, that's what she had around the house. So, what would you do if you were with some friends and they want to share what was the... Alrighty, folks, thank you for joining us for Cinema IRL.
No. Either that or I'm going to lie.
So,
I actually was thinking about this.
well, how can... I'm certainly not sharing mine here on the episode.
Oh. I'm really not sure what the worst thing I've ever done was. Like...
Is it just hard to pick from the list, or
No.
you're just a little angel?
No, I'm definitely not an angel. I mean, if thoughts counted for things, then I would be serving 30 to life, for sure. But as far as actual actions...
That is a loaded question, and that is a genie you cannot put back.
So you're correct about the genie in the bottle thing, so... Yeah, I'm not... I'm either making something up, or I'm just refusing to play. I'd be like, guys, this is... This does not end well. Just when I say this does not end well. Everyone here is lie,
But it didn't seem like Mike or Rachel did. They shared
or
things.
be thought less of. Because let me tell you, I actually believe Rachel's thing was worse.
Oh, Rachel's thing was terrible. I mean, I just assumed the kid died, the one that she locked in the closet. And when she finally said they found him, even though she didn't disclose once they were looking for him where he was.
Yeah, no, her thing was pretty terrible.
And the kid didn't out her, but I just assumed that kid died. That was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rachel was definitely like, wow, that's bad.
I felt like she didn't really have any moral high ground at that point to say anything, but guess she didn't feel like she needed moral high ground.
Well, she also had a personal story, and that always influences things because her cousin was actually injured in a school shooting and is in a wheelchair because of that. So she has a personal experience with the repercussions of someone who actually did something like Emma had been planning. So
Thing. if I was ever going to play that game, it would have to be made very, very clear that, like, you're going to hear some shit that's probably going to rattle you about this person, something you didn't know.
I don't know if that's a game. That's just a...
And you less of them, but
I think
you also
how
can't,
can you...
you also can't help that.
Yeah, I don't know how you set a rule of how you can't think less of anybody. I mean, it was just a truth or dare with no dare, and it was just truth. And...
That's brutal truth.
Yeah, so let's assume you're Charlie, and you have heard this information from the woman you're supposed to marry in a couple of days. How does that land for you?
I actually want to flip that question on you first. I want to get your answer first, because I know very clearly what mine is.
Okay. So if I'm Charlie?
Yeah.
That is a hard thing to unknow, because on one hand, I would want to think that, okay, that was 15 years ago. You were, a confused kid. But it's not like it was a passing thought, because I think a lot of us have had passing thoughts of things, all kinds of things in life. But you don't actually do them, because you just don't do that. And even though she didn't actually execute the shooting at the school, she had done all the planning and the prep for it. All the way down to recording her video that they're going to find after the shooting of like, oh, you're probably wondering why I did this. And that is obviously beyond what most of us would do, is having a fleeting thought about something. But of course, we live in a society, we are reasonable human beings, and most of us don't do those things. But to have actually planned that would be really hard for me to unknow, because on one hand, how kids can feel in high school when they're ostracized or not popular or bullied or whatever the case was. And her bullying was really tame, really, really tame. It's not, considering the things that happen in schools today, someone saying you need to wear deodorant, that's really tame by teasing and bullying standards. So maybe by your standards. I mean, I agree that you could be bullied worse, but... I mean, if that was a recurring thing and a bunch of kids did it every day and you stink, I mean, yeah, I can understand that. But it was... What we saw is there was the thing with someone saying you need to wear deodorant and then some kid bumping into her and knocking her over.
I mean, they made it sound like this was stuff that happened on a regular basis. Now, how regular, I don't know.
I didn't get that impression.
Was it once a week? Was it once a day? Was it several times a day?
Yeah.
How many different kids are doing it?
I mean, we saw those two instances, so it was hard to know for sure. Question. It's one thing to think on things. It's another thing to act on things. And I would have a very difficult time wrapping my head around the fact that I was with someone who was capable of going that far with something, even though they didn't execute it, that they were capable of going that far. That would...
I mean, I've been known to get real on this show.
Yeah, and you do like your mental health soapbox.
I do. And I believe you are aware of the fact that I have actually written a suicide note. Like, I didn't just think about it, I actually wrote it. And I had a plan. I knew exactly how I was going to do it in a garage. Which, by the way, that actually is one of the better ways to have to go. I believe you kind of just pass out.
Okay, let's not give recommended ways of killing yourself.
Don't do it. Yeah, I had a pretty good idea of what. And I remember going down to a store, and mind you, this was not when I was a child. I was an adult. I went down to a game store, and I wanted to play with Magic. I was like, this is something that's been a big part of my life. I want to do one last time. Remember, I either got bounced in the first round or the second round. Like, I didn't do well in it. Not that had any effect on it, but... And then... circumstances, mildly. And it reframed, and made me not do it.
The only consistent thing in life is change.
So everything in life, people were talking about, like, would she have done it if it weren't for blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah. I'm going to be honest with you. Until she's at the school, anything could have changed. Or maybe nothing gotten there, like, brought the gun into school and really
she
been like...
did. She did bring the gun to school.
I mean, like, to the point that, like, I'm going to go for it. And she just said no. Because that's the thing. It is so easy to think all of these things. And you can trick yourself by going through all the motions. Like, she shot the video. Like, she did everything, like, because you feel like it's real. And obviously for some people it does go real and they do pull the trigger, but you don't know until it actually happens. So I think saying that she mass shooting maybe that was the thing that turned her, but there's nothing saying that she wouldn't have turned otherwise.
But here's the difference between your story.
One's hurting me and one's hurting other people.
Yeah, I mean, because if someone hurts themselves, generally as a society, we have some degree of compassion of the fact that that person, and not to say it's, but you're making a decision that impacts you. And yes, absolutely, there are victims and everything when you take your own life. There are others who are impacted by that. But deciding to take the life of many other people, that's a...
So, she was 15. They had just made a big point about how the human brain doesn't fully form until you're 25. So you're playing with a partial deck up to that point. At least, especially from emotions. They'd been together, I think it was
2 years.
It was a 2 range. Teen really, it can mess you up easily. I mean, I've said that high school is hands down the most troubling time of most people's lives. Like, the things, especially today, I would definitely not want to be a teenager today.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm very glad that I am not.
I love my tech, but that tech I do not think is necessarily a positive at that age. So,
What tech? What are you talking about?
like things like Instagram
Oh.
and stuff like that make bullying
Oh, yeah.
a lot. It's been 15 years. She was 15. She was in a dark place. Like, she was in a really, really dark place.
But
And
that's
she
the
felt-
thing.
and
She didn't seem like it, though. I mean, obviously, to be considering that you're in a dark place, but it's not like, she didn't seem tormented or distraught. She seemed very rational when we saw those flashbacks to her at 15.
Yeah, and that's the scary. See it. People who are like that are often very good at masking, so you won't see it.
Sometimes.
You won't see
And
it.
sometimes people say the signs were there. I just didn't really realize it would be a problem.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
People are people. Things are going to be different.
once you have the answer to the problem, you can be like, oh, that makes sense. That's obvious. But having to deal with it in real time, you can't just assume. Like, that must have been really, really hard. That must have been incredibly hard that you went through what you went through to get to the point that you felt like that was the right. I am so happy now. And that's kind of where it ends. I mean, maybe I bring up the whole, hey, do you think that you're actually fully good? Like, have you maybe gone to therapy a little on this? Because this might be something that's worth a few sessions. It's not going to change the way I feel about her.
See, and what we see in the film is what certain things mean or could escalate to, because he now sees her as being someone who's capable of something.
So what you're saying is the reason why I said I didn't know if this movie was going to have a lot of what would you do's. Because everyone's going to react differently, and it's going to be an emotional, visceral reaction to it. The way he reacted was the way he was going to react. Like, there's no choice to be is who he is, a culmination of his whole life, as to whether or not this is going to bother him. And it did. It bothered him immensely. And
well, it bothered him from the standpoint of knowing that of moving past a fleeting thought and actually doing something. Because what we see in the film is there's a scene where she's making a smoothie and she's cutting up fruit, and then all of a sudden she appears with a knife, kills him, and then you could tell there's part of him that's wondering if she was capable of planning everything to shoot a bunch of classmates, is she capable of hurting me?
I'm capable of hurting you. You're capable of hurting me. A lot of people are capable of hurting other people.
But that's different than actually taking action to actually hurt
exactly.
somebody.
When you're at 30, your brain is fully formed. You are past those formative years.
Some people's brains aren't fully formed even decades later.
Yeah, you are, clearly in a much better place than you were. I don't think you can ask what's capable. I think a lot of people would be capable of things if it came down to it. But the question isn't, are you capable? It's, would you actually do it? And for me, I know it's no.
And part of his struggle is he starts seeing everything with a different lens. For example, they're walking across the street and a car comes up too close to them, and then she starts screaming at the car because the car got too close to them as they were crossing. And he sees that differently of because she just won't let it go, and she's yelling at him and she's approaching the car. So he's now seeing everything through this lens of would she be capable of hurting this person? And back to when you know something, sometimes it's very human to not necessarily see things the same way because you know what you know now. And that's what we definitely saw with Charlie.
I feel like if you had met me as a high schooler and you knew that much about me, we probably wouldn't be together right now. If you used all of that. I was not a great person in high school. Not bullying or anything like that. Lord knows I was the recipient. If anything, I would have been the one that hauled out the gun. But that thought never even popped into my head. But you can't judge people on their past. If you do, it's unfair. Someone to grow as a person. You didn't know her then. You never knew that version of her. That's a different version of her than what you saw was here today. But you want to judge her? Based on now, listen, again, I get it. You're going to react how you're going to react. And there's nothing you can do to change that. That's why Rachel overreacted, because part of her life had been seeing her cousin involved in one and getting paralyzed. And so that's going to make her way more sensitive to this than other people. So, I actually believe Rachel's reaction was part of the reason that he had such a visceral reaction to it as well. Thought it was a bad thing, but I feel like it was Rachel getting super riled up over it that made him think, well, crap, should I be getting more riled up over this than I am?
Maybe. I don't know.
He definitely was questioning, but he did not seem super horrified at first.
Well, he kept having flashbacks and visions of 9-year-old Emma
later.
And was and whatnot. So here's the thing about judging people in past things. Okay, so, and I guess here's my take on it. Number one, I think you can judge people based on past actions. And I think you can also allow people to grow. So you can judge if someone did something cruel once upon a time or, terrible or whatnot. I do believe you can judge that. Let me speak for myself. I can judge that. However, I also want to acknowledge that people can evolve and grow. It's funny because in politics, back when John Kerry was running for president, there was a moniker that got thrown at him
The flip-flopper?
He was a flip-flopper. And, oh, he's just a flip-flopper. And it was this terrible insult, and even still, pops up in politics today. I think that's okay. It means that you thought a certain way, you opened your mind, you learned, you researched, you were receptive to getting more information, and that because of that, you have made a different decision. I think more politicians should be flip-floppers because it means that somewhere along the way, you were open to learning and growing and evolving other than digging in and just being how you've always been because that's how you always are. It's kind of like I have this is my own personal thing, where if someone says to you, oh, she's just the same she was in high school, or you're just the same you were in college, I think that, for me, would actually be an insult because I would like to think that...
It depends on how you were then.
But maybe, but I would like to think that I have learned and grown and evolved since I was a student in some sort of educational institution. If I was the same as I was as a kid, it means that I never was receptive to learning anything new or expanding my horizons. So it's hard for me to put myself in the shoes of this because on one hand, I would have thoughts of this person is capable of something that I never would have dreamed that they were capable of. And I can also see how sometimes people do have tough times and they learn and they grow and they do better and know better.
I believe that more people would be capable of it than not. And that they would actually take the action. Like, it's like the whole, like, if somebody, intruder came into your home and you had a gun, would you be capable of pulling that trigger? If you felt your life was threatened?
Yeah.
I think more people than not would pull it.
And I think there's a lot of people, too, who walk the straight and narrow because they know the consequences of not.
I mean...
Because they don't want to get caught. They would hurt the person or steal the money or rob the bank or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's the fear of repercussion, the fear of punishment, the fear of criminal justice system that keeps a lot of people honest.
Yeah, and, I mean, I know I've told you... because I've pretty much told you everything. You pretty much know it all at this point. I used to joke that maybe I had to look left or Pat Buchanan had to look right to see me. Like, I was way the F out there right. Now, it kind of makes sense based on my upbringing. I was at least from the age of 8 on, and especially from high school, I was in a very, very area. So, you often are a product of your environment on things like this.
Oh, very much so. It's like when kids in high school, they identify themselves as Republicans or Democrats. It's like, no, I don't know if you're making that decision on your own. You're probably mimicking what you hear from your parents.
Very much so. But obviously, near that. Like, I have radically shifted my viewpoints because...
You got out of a small town world.
Yeah, I saw the world. And that's... Most people who are conservative are not well-traveled. I'm not going to say everyone, but I think you would find that most people who vote conservative are not well-traveled people. So, Charles being his shit. And then he brings scenario for his coworker about, well, if used to or once had thoughts about doing a school shooting and planned it, and for one, you're saying exactly what you're... He just completely basically loses his mind telling his coworker about a situation that anyone who's logical could realize he's actually asking about a situation for himself. The whole, my friend did this.
Well, what it seemed like as he was sharing this, and obviously he is carrying a lot, and he is very conflicted, and every day they're having to do something to prepare for the wedding, look at the venue, try cake, meet the photographer, meet with the DJ, and he does talk to a coworker, but in sharing this, if I was the coworker, I would think he was talking about him, like, I was going to shoot up a school because his thing is what if your boyfriend or your husband or whatever did
Significant
that.
other.
I would think he was talking about himself. But this is representative of a guy who is not being given the gift of time to process this and come to grips with it because he's getting married in a couple of days.
Yeah. So here's the question for you. We're things. He ends up, while he's crying, decides he wants to make out with and attempt to screw his coworker. Though I don't think his lower half was agreeing.
Okay, you're kind of jumping around.
Yeah,
a
I'm
little
definitely
bit.
jumping around because you said you kind of want to.
Well, if for someone who hasn't seen it, that has no context. So in the course of coworker, asking his coworker what she would do if she found out about the person he was with, then she basically says, well, I think that person sounds like a psychopath. He gets upset, he runs off, and then in this highly emotional and elevated state, he starts kissing her, and then they kind of have a moment like they're going to have sex, and then he gets himself together, and he's a mess.
Mind you, this is the day before, I believe, day before their wedding.
He's a mess. Yeah.
So here's my question for you. If you're Zendaya, can you, or not Zendaya, I guess, what's her name?
Emma,
I don't keep up with names. Can you forgive that?
Yeah, because she ultimately finds out at the wedding, as the whole wedding is just an absolute disaster.
He completely unraveled at the wedding.
He does get married to her. They have the wedding, but they are still in an insanely awkward place. And in the course of this just very terrible wedding, it comes out that he did kiss this coworker, and it's shared in front of everybody.
Well, it didn't come out. He freaking said as much.
Yeah.
Like Rachel gave her speech, and I know, like, they were both concerned about what she would say, but she didn't say anything bad.
Yeah, he's a disaster. He is a disaster. He has been put in this situation. He needs time to deal with it, but he has not been given the gift of time. So even though he does go through with the wedding, he is not a well man.
No.
And yes, he does admit to this encounter with a coworker. So what would I do if I found out the man I just married kissed and tried to have sex with another woman? Obviously,
The night before.
Obviously, we just got married. That is not a great thing. And I think there's a part of me that has to understand that he is spiraling. Like this is an impossible situation because of the timetable of the wedding. And I suppose I would have to give him credit because he was not doing well.
Yeah, no, he was doing extremely poorly.
I mean, what would you do in that case if your other had done that?
When you consider the fact that a lot of the reason he's spiraling is because of this story that you told, and you maybe think it shouldn't be as big of a deal, but still, it's still new information that came out. Between that and the wedding, which you could tell was a very stressful process up to the end.
Yeah, they're taking pictures, trying to look like a happy couple, but there is massive strain.
Yeah, and I also want to note something I felt was a little hypocritical was when they fired the DJ because they thought they saw the DJ doing heroin like a number of nights back out on the street. Whether we should determine whether or not she actually did. But they ended up firing her based on that, which I did not think it was right or smart to do that. Already freaking set up for your wedding. Whatever they did with heroin, if it was them, like, is not going to affect your DJing. She's clearly sober and in a fine place at that point. And I'd also like to note that I've had situations where I saw someone, and for time reasons, I won't go into more details. I knew they were somebody. I knew who they were.
What do you mean, somebody?
Like they were somebody, as in I knew of a specific person who that's, but like somebody in my world. I knew it for sure. People can look alike, especially in a large area like that where there's like a ton of people. So you have to like crazy, like You just can't. I don't think you do that. And that was part of it as well, because I think hypocritical feelings. This person made a mistake, so we're going to punish them, whereas we aren't really punishing ourselves for mistakes. Like it.
Mistake. I don't think the word mistake really fits either of these scenarios.
I mean, if you're doing heroin, I would consider that a mistake.
Well, you would. I mean, the person doing heroin probably doesn't consider it a mistake.
Well, of course they don't, because they don't see it. So, there were too many give. And honestly, at that point, I'd be like, can we just call this even? Like, can we start over for all this? Like,
and that's how it ends.
Yeah, you drop your crap, I'll drop my crap, and we just move forward. Yeah, well, after he got the crap beat out of him by his husband, who was there at the wedding, it was a total mess. Like, you're clearly not yourself at that point. The only other question would be, do you cancel the wedding? And I think it's a no. Like, if you're calling off the wedding, you're calling off the wedding completely. Way too much money. So,
a lot of people move forward with weddings because they're not. I think that is unfortunate, because I think a lot of unions likely happen simply because people either didn't want to break people's hearts or waste money. Well, and that is not a good reason to... As
the dance instructor said, it's performative. It really is. I mean, that's the definition of it. I just might go to whoever's officiating the wedding afterwards and say, do me a favor.
This is a fake one.
Don't send that one in quite yet. We got to work a couple things out first.
I think, though, if you go through the motions of a wedding, regardless if the paperwork gets submitted or not, you're still making a declaration. You're still saying the words. I understand that there is a legal loophole in the fact if the paper doesn't get filed, but you're still telling this other person, I'm committed to being with you for the rest of my life.
But you went through with the wedding for sure, because you would have been letting down a ton of people who didn't need to be involved in all of that crap. If nothing else, you're just two actors going through the motions and be like, we're going to work this out before that paper gets submitted.
We hope you enjoyed our episode. Thank you for listening. And to catch all the new episodes, please subscribe. We release 2 to 3 episodes weekly, so we'll have new content regularly. Until next time.